There is a certain magic that can only happen in a group of people when everybody feels safe and seen and acknowledged, and when there's something fascinating to engage people in their minds, and there's something special in the room, there's something that activates people, catalyzes them. And when that happens, whether it's a family reunion or a corporate meeting or a transformational retreat, lives are changed. Lives are changed. But what is that magic? What is that magic that makes a group event or a retreat or a gathering or a meeting into something life-changing and heart and soul feeding and totally purpose affirming? What is that magic? I'm here to tell you, I have suffered, as you probably have, through a lot of group gatherings that you think, well, it should be great, but why isn't it, right? Like mastermind events that I've gone to for business where it's like there's nice people up on stage, but somehow in the audience, everything just feels dead and really boring. Or even retreats, like spiritual retreats that you think, oh, this is going to be inspiring, but you go and something feels off, like something doesn't feel safe. Maybe you don't feel like you're seen. You don't feel like, I've now gotten to the point, and I don't know about you, but I've totally gotten to the point where I am really picky about going to group anything because I'm so tired of being disappointed by mediocre experiences in group. Well, I've been a speaker and a retreat leader since I was a teenager, actually. In my little Catholic high school, I helped hold retreats. And I realized that even back then, when I was helping to lead Teens Encounter Christ retreats at my Catholic school, University High in San Diego, University of San Diego High School, which was a Catholic private school, and I was the campus minister. Thank you very much. We were taught and trained how to lead this retreat. And I'm realizing now I really appreciate what I was taught then, because each person on the retreat team had a specific role. And the role that I kept being given in those retreats, and in fact all the kids on the team, the teenagers, were given the role of being the guardian of a table. And this was my first experience of learning the secret art of being a guardian. And the guardian's role in any group event is to be the one that makes sure everyone feels safe and included, to make sure that they feel like they're being contained well, like there's confidentiality, for example, and that there's safety, and that they know where the bathroom is, and they know when their next meal is coming, so they can just calm down and actually experience it. This role is so critically important, and I'm realizing as a teenager, I learned how important that role is for any group event, and yet it's often overlooked. Everybody's focused on, well, who's going to speak from stage because they're like the talker teacher, and then maybe who's going to lead some kind of a fun exercise because they're kind of the catalyst or the initiator. They're like the ones who bring the spark and the one who brings the teaching. But neither of those people is going to have the attention or love of the audience or the participants unless there's strong guardianship. So even as a teenager, I remember learning that my role as a guardian was to sit at this table. It was like a bunch of tables of like 10, or I think it was like 10 kids each at each circular table. And there was one guardian like me at each table. And our job was actually, if we could do our job really well, people wouldn't even know that we were a guardian. We're just participating. And we weren't supposed to be bossy or tell people what to do. Our job was to ask questions of the person who seems kind of nervous and scared to speak. Our job was to make sure that everyone at the table felt safe, felt included. Our job as a guardian was to pray and to pray for the people at our table even while we're sitting with them. And our job as a guardian was to actually participate in the group and to model what fully authentically participating in the event was like. So this is my first, realizing my first lesson of being a guardian. But I'll tell you what, I've always liked being on stage. Like, I've always liked being in plays, being on stage, being the speaker. I've also liked being like the facilitator, the catalyzer, the one leading some fun exercise. And those are kind of the sexier roles. Flash forward to, 2003, probably, when I met Maria Yesbrew, who's my Apache mama and my mentor, and one of many mentors I have, to be honest, but she's really a pivotal person when it comes to learning an indigenous perspective on these energetic realities, like the reality of guardianship. I remember when I first kind of got psychic accidentally, I was really jazzed on the fact that I could just open and teach, like let information and teachings come through me on topics that I actually consciously didn't know anything about. But if I could really get into that mode, I could bring through information and wisdom about ancient teachings that I'd never learned. And yet they were helpful to the people listening, and honestly helpful to me when I would listen to the recordings back of myself channeling this information. I remember I would lead events where I was just channeling and I didn't have a guardian in the room. What would happen? Well, when I'm channeling, speaking in that way, people are learning stuff. So I'm being the teacher. I'm also being the catalyst, the catalyzer, the catalyst, because the energy is also coming through me. But what I can't be, if I'm the one with the proverbial microphone, I can't be the guardian also. I can't do those three things at the same time. And so what happens? Well, if there's no guardian in the room, there's nobody making sure everybody feels okay, people inevitably in your audience or in the group that you're trying to lead, they get wiggly, or they get a little off, or they might get irritated, or they might get anxious or concerned about, like, well, what time is this going to be over? And why does this person get to blow their nose really loud in the middle of this thing? Is that really okay? And there's all this mishigas that people concern themselves with because nobody's there to hold it. And it can cause drama. It can also just cause an audience that is disconnected, distracted, and anxious. And that's what's happening in these rooms where you have like a board meeting where nobody is really the guardian. Nobody can actually stay focused and interested if they're not sure who's got the clock, like who's keeping track of the time, and when are we going to, have a bathroom break, or it sounds like this stuff is really unimportant, right? Trivial. No, it is critical, because having someone there who's holding the space and holding these safety pieces and holding the energetics of like, hey, I've got you. You're fine. I'll make sure that you get what you need. You can relax. Your nervous system can relax. You don't need to be vigilant or worried about your own like basic survival needs. I've got you. Having that person is what allows people to hear, receive, to learn, and to change. So this was really driven home for me when I talked to Maria about it, and she said, look, I was asking her, like, well, what are the important, people that we need, like, for an event? We're going to do a day-long event of some kind. Who do we need? And she's like, well, we need at least 3 guardians. And I was like, guardians? Like, I hadn't recognized this art fully. I thought, well, we need a teacher, we need someone who's going to talk, or maybe several. She said, no, the guardians in my family, she said, the guardians is the most important role in a way. The one who can calm people, who can make sure that they have what they need. The one who holds the vessel of the group secure so that everyone relaxes inside of it. The one who makes sure that everyone has a say and that everyone feels belonging and connected. That's the most important role. And I remember her even saying that when she was growing up in a more traditional family unit on the res, that the guardian was always deeply honored. The guardian of a ceremony was just as important, maybe more important in the honoring as the Holy One or the ceremonialist who was leading the thing. Because without safe space, people can't relax. And when people can't relax, they can't learn, they can't listen, they won't collaborate. And certainly they won't have that magical, cohesive, uplifting, inspiring, magical experience. So I'm sharing this because a lot of the people that I know and work with are really smart people, and they're great speakers, and they're great facilitators, and they're great leaders. And there's a few things that we have to do. First of all, knowing this, you're setting up a meeting, you're setting up a retreat, choose people who are natural guardians, natural hosts, natural empaths, sensitives, who are going to lean in and make sure that everyone feels comfortable and okay. The guardian has to be self-responsible. They can't stir up more drama. They have to be someone who can navigate their own needs and take care of themselves, and then from that place hold space and take care of the needs of the other people in the group. Okay? The other thing is to recognize and appreciate the natural guardians in your team. These people tend to be invisible. The natural guardian on your team, at work, at home, tend to be the ones quietly, silently tracking how everybody's doing, and quietly, silently just giving people what they need when they need it. My partner right now, Tony, he's a natural guardian, and he's the best host of a party because he notices when people, it's kind of like, in the party atmosphere, he'll notice when someone's cup is draining, and he'll come and fill it up, but not just on the physical, also on the energetic. He'll notice if somebody seems to be a little bit sad or distant, he will engage them, bring them in. The best guardians are the people around us who are doing this naturally. So if you're a leader, appreciate the people on your team who are guardianing and acknowledge them for it, and maybe reward them for it. Make space for them to bring that in, because when a guardian is allowed to hold safe space for your team, whether it's for an event or just for everyday work, everyone's going to do better. They're going to feel safer, and they're going to be available for the work that you're about. And finally, feel into yourself. Which one of these three roles is your natural gifted jam? Are you the one who's best when you're at the microphone teaching, explaining, directing? That's sort of the teacher role. Are you better when you're allowed to create experiences for people that inspire them or spark them? That's the role of the catalyst, or in ceremony, that's the initiator role. Or are you a natural guardian, one who quietly watches and supports and helps the whole group? I mentioned that with Maria, there's often at least 3 guardians, because there's a guardian assigned to the teacher to make sure the teacher is in their right state. And to the initiator, there's a guardian assigned to any elder when we're sitting in circle or doing ceremony, because elders could use a little help, and their natural resource as wise ones deserves that support. So consider, where can guardians come into your team and life more? Which part of you is a guardian part? Which part of you is your catalyst or initiator part? Which part of you is a teacher, leader part? And notice that you can't be all 3. You cannot serve all 3 purposes. In most cases, you can't effectively be all 3. So who can you collaborate with? Who can you acknowledge and empower to play the natural role that they are gifted with? This is just as important as knowing your soul gift and your type of intuitive genius. Knowing which group leader role you are can help you understand how to make your own group gatherings and events better. And it can also help you understand when you go to an event that just feels off, why. You'll see which one of these is missing. It's often the guardian. All hail the guardians. Thank you for doing what you're doing.